Western civilization has inevitably reached a place of evil because it is founded on false theology. The further first Roman Catholicism and then Protestantism drifted away from the truth, from Christ, from orthodox theology, the easier it became for the demons and man's corrupted imagination to create a culture that is manifestly evil. Even by the 9th century, Western adoption of the filioque was enabling a false understanding of God, which inevitably led to a false understanding of man and what kind of relationships he should have both with himself and with God. So that man's fallen heart, so filled with corruption, is given the freedom to pursue whatever it chooses and do whatever it feels is right. Trusting in his own judgment, man will do as he wilt, and so embrace the very foundations of evil. We see man growing indifferent to God and to his own eternal condition in proportion to how focused he becomes on the things of this world. Materialism in all its forms, whether it's communism or neoliberalism and capitalism, convinces man to become overly concerned with wealth, possessions, the ordering of society, his physical health, and of course today, the environmental question. As we become engrossed in such temporal things, we lose sight of the eternal. Once we fail to set eternal life as our primary concern, we become more likely to sin, to seek pleasure, to fulfill our own personal desires and ambitions. And all of this is a demonic trick, a trick tried and tested over many centuries. Even as we turn away from God, though, God permits us free will to choose or reject him. And yet all the time, he offers himself to us. He pours his mercy and love into our lives, gently reminding us of our eternal purpose, like the voice of conscience calling the prodigal back. There is a condition of soul that many are entering where the ego has assumed such a level of control that it refuses the soul any acceptance of God's call. And so the soul enters a state of suffering, an intense pain that makes that person a victim of demonic disgrace. The world around us today, particularly in the West, aims to so defile and corrupt the human soul that it becomes spiritually paralyzed. Even the outward appearance is transformed. The gentle smile of humility is replaced with arrogance and laughter. The nobility of humanity is corrupted so that the sense of decency and honour and good manners is replaced with deceit and lust. And the absence of God is seen in the uncivilized mannerisms and even the clothing seen in every modern Western city. Let us not judge these souls, for they are truly the victims of demonic work. Western culture has built high walls between them and the traditions of the past. The old ways of dignity and humility have been replaced with the illusion of vanity and distraction. Absolute relativism has stripped our schools and other institutions of any certainty of truth, except of course for the laws of atheism and pluralism. And so many are unable to find meaning in their lives beyond hedonism and sensuality. To this end, man is told all things may be used for his own pleasure. No passion must be denied, where rules, restrictions and traditional values become chains from which to break free. At this very moment, billions of dollars are spent creating entertainments and amusements, and all this contain subtle teachings about good and evil which create false ideas about what is heroic and strong, which strip the world of categories so that man is free to call himself whatever he chooses, regardless of biology or truth. as understanding loses the categories by which man is created, a new nihilism is revealed, where no one is identified beyond what they feel or desire. And today, the real target is our children. Evil is intent on the corruption of our children. It's essential that we grasp this, that we recognize the danger our children are in. I taught in English secondary schools for 18 years, and I witnessed the transformation of the syllabus, the rapid influence of liberalism, the increasing discomfort of Christian teachers who are forced by a culture imposed by their management to remain silent. The Western educational system is without God and offers children no meaning. Parents who try to raise their family with Christian values will find their children's worldview at best challenged and in many cases mocked or portrayed as evil. Children raised with traditional values about sex and marriage will, during their whole school lives, be told such ideas are bigoted and that they must be rejected. The new mantra of inclusion and tolerance really means inclusion and tolerance of anything and everything except Christian values. And what the children hear in school is then reinforced by corrupt television programs and things on the internet. Secretly, children will inevitably reject their parents' teaching because the whole world around them is telling them they're not to be trusted. And children grow up with unnatural tensions of life in our cities, where crime and psychological breakdown is visible all around them. Is it any wonder that suicide amongst children is on such a steep increase? More children than ever are growing up in the emotional and spiritual poverty of one-parent families, because Western divorce is so common and where many couples don't even get married before having children. Let us remember, none of this is an accident. Western culture has been carefully guided and manipulated. The media is owned and operated by those consumed with the revolutionary spirit, desperate to advance their agenda. We see governments opting to provide free childcare that separates infants from their mothers, rather than ensuring a man's wage is sufficient to support his family. It's no accident. We can protect ourselves and we can protect our families from what's happening. We must remove televisions from our lives. We mustn't allow sporting or school events to prevent our children from attending church. Most importantly, we must pray together as families. Let your children experience the reality of prayer. Let them see it as a natural part of family life. Western culture has fallen. Those nations still resisting, like Poland and Hungary, are being punished by international organizations. And of course, Greece has been despoiled. But Christians have lived in pagan and atheistic cultures before. The Russian people gave to God millions of martyrs under the communists. The saints of the early church faced all kinds of savage brutality. So, be of good cheer. Do not be afraid. Resist the slide into evil. Organize your life so that it serves your longing for God. Use your time wisely. We are witnessing Satan's hand at play, but we will also witness Christ's victory.